Welcome to No Question About That. This is a midweek pod with me, Ed, and him, Tom. Tom, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good. I went to United on Saturday. I genuinely still feel like I'm wet, cold, and also have a little bit of a cough because I was late as well to the game, and we were running like as fast as they can to try and get there, like because the traffic was just awful and the buses weren't running. And yeah, I got drenched in a way that I've never been drenched at a football match ever again. So I'm still recovering a little bit from that. But apart from that, all good.
Very good. That can happen at Old Trafford, especially if you have a seat near the front with a bit of sideways rain and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Jolly good. Well, we're going to talk about Old Trafford in a bit, actually, because there's an announcement that they're going to expand the safe standing area. So today we thought we'd go through a bit of the news, talk a little bit about the women's team, which we haven't done much focus on this season so far. They've had a really good start to the new season, and then look at Brentford at the weekend, which is kind of interesting test of Amarim's new Wimbledon-Chester style of play. Sort of. Well, what have you made of the reaction to the Chelsea victory? You were there, badly, desperately needed. Like a bit of an incoherent game, really, overall, because of the red cards and stuff. But we're going from game to game with our reaction at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's difficult to do that because if you actually look at the XG, we're still I think we're still top of the league with our XG, and I think the reaction was always going to be to diminish United because there's so many people that hate us in the media. But I think the fact is that we started the game really, really well. And I think no matter what the circumstances of the red cards, if Sanchez doesn't come out in the first place, we're going to go 1-0 up. And you make your own luck in a season. And considering how little luck we've had under Amarim, I feel like that football is such a game of small margins. And you look at how almost everyone talks about how amazing Liverpool start to the season has been, where they've won 5 games in a row, but 4 of those games have been last-minute winners. They had a Champions League game, which was a last-minute winner, and you don't call that, like, some people are calling that luck, but other people are calling that the sign of champions. And I think the way that United managed the game for the first half was pretty impeccable. I mean, I think that the way that Maresca reacted helped us enormously, but
weird, wasn't it?
The game changes when obviously Casemiro gets sent off and we lose our heads a bit. But I think I hate the reaction that we only won because it was down against 10 men. Like, wait, what more can you do? Like that was the feeling that I was always going to be. It was like, what more can you do? If we go and win 4 or 5-0, which I genuinely thought at one point we were actually going to do in the first half. Yeah, amazing. But we've always got this bollock in us, basically. We're always going to drop a bollock at some point, unfortunately. And Casemiro makes that mistake, but we see it through, and the character was amazing. Like, there was one slip where we react very, very slowly to a short corner, and Yoro loses a header, which, I mean, if Maguire had stayed on the pitch, he'd have headed that away. And then we're back against the wall. But even then, like, Bruno has a great chance to make it 3-1. We were well worthy for that victory. And I think the problem is with the reaction when people kind of do it down, and you get United fans doing that. You also get people in the media doing that trying to do it down, is that that momentum that you start to gain and that confidence and that positivity that you start to gain, you try and chip away at it immediately. And I'm hoping that the squad and the players and the manager have enough of a bubble around them that they, this week on the training pitch, which is another full week to concentrate on a football match, they can actually start to build something. And I think I know it's difficult to say what would have happened in that game, but the way we started, the intensity that we started with against the team that had been in Munich a few days before, I think we would. I think we probably would have been good value for a win anyway. And, and it's difficult to say that now, but like, and it's. I think there's potentially a little bit of momentum we can take from that, but we can see.
Yeah. Yeah, I started to dig in for my newsletter on Monday. NQATpod.substack.com if you want to sign up. Free newsletter on Mondays, paid on Thursdays. But I started to dig into the data, not with an agenda per se, just to look at some of this, because the XG looks really high. I was like, what's behind that? You can write some of that off. There's a significant amount of the open play XG that was against City when we were 3-0 down already, or against Burnley. And so you can go, is that really meaningful? Does it really point to anything this season? It's only 5 games. It's not much of a sample size. So, I'm taking that all with a pinch of salt. There have been some improvements. I think the biggest sort of tactical, systemic thing is just how direct United have been. I mean, second to Spurs, 398 long balls to Spurs' 401. Bournemouth, the same, 398. So it's a big shift, and it's kind of partly the Premier League as a whole has gone a bit more direct. This season, more like, and I don't mean like Wimbledon style, punt it into the corners and you grow the grass longer so it holds up and that kind of stuff. It's just balls over the top. And for United, that's sometimes quite effective because obviously Mbeumo is rapid. And we saw that with the red card. It's an Altay long ball, a Sesko flick on, and Mbeumo is going to get there before he's taken out. And that should buy some cheap goals. What I'm looking for in Brentford, and we'll preview this a bit more later, is whether United can do that against a low block, because that becomes much more percentage football. Ethan Pinnock, Nathan Collins are going to head those away all day long. They're going to be quite happy with long balls, and there won't be any space behind, so it'll change. But that's the biggest sort of. Chelsea was great because we just needed the bloody win. And honestly, if the ref had captured the ball, caught the ball in his hands, and bowled it into the net, I'd be taking that. So red card, some chaos, fine. All good. But I'm not sure I could draw a bigger picture. There's some good stuff, some concerning stuff still. United's XG against is highest in the league.
Yeah.
So
I think that for all of the talk about Amarim's stubbornness, his dogma, I love the pragmatism that comes with the launching the ball long, because you've got a goalkeeper in behind there who isn't comfortable playing out from the back. Like, he's not bad. He's actually reasonable with his feet. He's not bad, but he's not amazing. He's not Edison. He's not going to be able to play one around the corner. He's not James Trafford. But he actually is really good at punting the ball in an accurate way. And I think Onana was actually pretty good at doing that as well. And I think, like you say, there's been a shift in the Premier League. You've even seen Guardiola start to move towards that shift as well. And also, you see what Chelsea were doing on Saturday in that pouring, teeming rain where there's standing water and the ball is not zipping across the field in a way at all. Chelsea's still trying to play out from the back, and there's just a stupidity to that. There's for all of the intellectualism that exists in football management these days, you can't just stay so dogmatic to your principles on a day like that. Like, whereas part of that is also reacting to part of football management is reacting to the conditions around you, never mind if it's on the day or the personnel. Yep. And we have never, for the whole time that, I guess, post-Fergie, or potentially even like pre-Fergie, or when pre-Fergie, during Fergie, post-Fergie, we've never been great at playing out from the back. Like, under Ten Hag, he abandoned that so quickly. And you look at the personnel we've got, I don't fancy De Ligt in those tight areas. I don't fancy Maguire in those tight areas. Shaw's fine in those tight areas. So try and look at ways in which you can change the system to benefit around that, and then go off Šeško's head. And Šeško has to beef up a little bit still for me. When people come into the back of him, he is quite slight. He is quite brittle compared to someone potentially like Gyökeres, or what we've had maybe before in like someone like Ibra. But if you've got a big man and you can just flick it on, why not use it? And I like that about him. And I think the pragmatism, the dogma, is sometimes very overstated with Amorim, because he does change things within the system. It's just the system is the thing that doesn't change. And I think
The system, the system is the system, and he won't compromise on his principles. I guess, I'm totally all right with there being flexibility in the styles. You want a plan A, a plan B. You want to mix it up. You don't want to be predictable. Mm-hmm. If United are launching 90 long balls a game, all season, it becomes very one-dimensional. Not sure that's awesome. I think my frustration comes where he's very dogmatic about the roles that he's assigned to each position in his formation, and they absolutely have to be a certain type of player, and he won't mix that up. And because of that, there are 3 or 4 players in the squad who are either out of the team or have moved positions, probably to the detriment of the team. And it's 5 games, so I know we have nearly 50 games of evidence of Amorim, but it's 5 this season, and we're looking for what has changed to improve United. It can't just be. If Amorim's bet is I bring in 4 new players, and it's really 3 who are first teamers, and the other 2 are fringe at the moment, and suddenly it's all going to go from 15th to European places, I just don't buy it at all. So something else has to change. The underlying data was so catastrophic last season that you cannot just add 3 players and go, it's all sorted. I don't buy that for a moment.
You look across the league and you look who is in the Premier League this season, who is looking like a great attacking outfit, who looks fluid. I don't think you could say anyone does. I think potentially Bournemouth do, but then not even fully with them. You'd say Liverpool have looked very scratchy, Arsenal look very scratchy, Chelsea have looked like City, Tottenham are improved, but they still had their bad results, they still had their blips. But the thing is that every team has brought in a lot of new attacking talent. Obviously, United have it, and therefore it takes a little bit of time for that to gel. And it's not. This isn't just a United thing; it's everyone thing. And that, yes, there are definite improvements. I think we saw that against City in particular. The pressing is so good at times. The like you say, the way that Mbeumo makes those runs, he's so great at timing them. He's so great at knowing where to be to make those runs. And our link-up play at times and our patterns of football have improved them massively. It's just that final pass, where is that guy going to run to? Is he going to make that run here? Is he going to make that run there? Where do I play the ball for him? That those things just come with a little bit of time. And the best teams in world football are the teams that have potentially been playing together. You saw it with Real Madrid when Mbappe went to Real Madrid in the first 3, 4, 5 months when he was at Real Madrid. He looked didn't look the same type of player at all.
Disrupted things a lot in that team.
He did, but the second half of the season he ended up scoring loads and loads of goals. And whereas the first half of the season people were saying, this is never going to work, blah blah blah. It does take a bit of time to bed, and especially when we were starting with Cunha, Mount, and Bruno, they're all different. And there were times again against Chelsea where you think, Bruno's played the wrong pass there. Why has he played Šeško in? I think it's just about knowing who you're around, who you're together with, and I think in time, I think we've seen a lot of encouraging signs from in the beginning. And I think more than anything, the pressing is the thing that makes me the most excited. I've loved our pressing over the last few games. I think with Šeško, another one of the great things about buying him is that he's a ready-made presser. He played in a Red Bull system for so long, and he's really, really good at it. Whereas Højlund, you couldn't ever knock his work rate, but sometimes he didn't run in the right places to block the passes. He didn't run in the right place to close down. But Šeško knows what he's doing, and I think he bought a ready-made guy. Even if he's not scoring, even if he's not assisting, he can still provide that, I think.
Yeah, it'll come with Šeško, I think. I have a lot of faith in his talent. Well, maybe in a year's time I'll be like, that was terrible, but who knows? We'll see. They announced that there'll be an expansion of the rail seating or safe standing seating at Old Trafford, another 6,000 seats. I think this is going to be universally sort of applauded. People stand all the time at Old Trafford anyway. It's not a new thing. Doing back in the 80s. So, there was a lot of standing, literally, at Old Trafford in the 80s, but this has always been the case. And so it's fairly pragmatic. It won't add capacity. They don't add extra tickets because they add safe standing, but it will allow the atmosphere to flourish, one hopes, and it's what the fans want anyway. It doesn't cost that much either, really, in the big scheme of things, while Sir Jim is trying to scrabble around private equity markets to fund a brand new stadium.
Yeah, and you just think surely it just adds to the atmosphere as well. Like there are so many times where I remember, especially away games, where you just get the stewards to just tell you to sit down throughout the whole game, and they do that occasionally now, but less so. And also Old Trafford, I remember times where you get the guys coming round and going, sit down, sit down, sit down. So in terms of atmosphere, it just helps enormously just to be able to stand up all the time. I mean, I always feel like this when you go into games, that you have to have a certain responsibility because you're there to be involved and to both help the team and also help get on the referee's back. I think when you're standing, it just always makes that easier just to launch into tirades or launch into song and launch into aggravation. And like I say, I think I always feel like there's the responsibility there.
Well, if that's fan-friendly, games moved in November for TV are definitely not. So just looking down here, Spurs away Saturday lunchtime, Palace also a lunchtime game, Everton away, that is, Everton at home Monday night. I mean, talk about sticking it to the fans. I mean, I know this has been a topic of conversation since 1992, but honestly, United fans coming down from Manchester on a Saturday morning when the traffic is horrendous and they're digging up the M6. Thanks.
Desperation to have United on TV at any point, right? But especially with it being against those two teams in particular as well, I'm guessing those two don't have European games that week, so then they're going to be on it. They're going to be on the normal, Wednesday to, potentially Saturday to Saturday, rather than Thursday to Sunday. But yeah, I'm guessing we might not get as many Sunday games this season as we usually do because of us not being in Europe and a lot of teams being in Europe in the Premier League. So yeah, I think we might get a lot of these shit ones on the mornings and the Mondays, and potentially the odd Friday night, and then the Friday afternoon on the Saturday afternoon. Like I say, desperation to have United on TV, and if we're not going to be at the Sunday fixture, we're going to get the shit tuck kick-off times, aren't we?
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I mean, Brentford's an early one as well this weekend.
Yeah.
So just getting loads of those, yeah. From a selfish point of view, of course, because I'm an idiot and I moved countries.
Imagine Jurgen Klopp if he was United manager right now.
I mean, he'd be complaining a lot. Yeah. I don't suppose anyone will actually ask Ruben Amorim whether he's all right with that, and he would not complain anyway. So, I know football has nothing to do with fans anymore. Basically, they're just part of the product you sell on TV. It's they need the atmosphere there. We found out during COVID that the broadcasters really do want that atmosphere. They got hundreds of millions of pounds back because there wasn't the atmosphere, and they piped in fake noise and Clive Tildesley on FIFA. Oh, and it's a goal! 5 seconds after the actual goal happened, that kind of nonsense.
Honestly, that would take me back to that time. It was so bad.
Oh, no, miserable. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, we were so used to. I mean, we're going to have this conversation an awful lot with the World Cup coming up next year, where they are going to royally shaft. I mean, Gianni has his massive strap on, and he's preparing to ram it home right now with dynamic ticket pricing and starting at $60 minimum. And that could be a game you have no interest in. Imagine taking the family to that, plus all the fees. I think that's the other thing people forget. Ticketmaster in the US almost doubles the price you'll pay with their fees. So,
and the way that
fans getting shafted everywhere.
Yeah, and the way that the resale market, the resale ability with season tickets these days as well at United is they've just made it almost impossible to even like give to a friend or a neighbour or whatever it is. Not impossible. It's
I
so
used to
much
do that
more
all
difficult.
the time. Yeah. I'd share my tickets with my sister, stepmom, all the time. You just can't do that kind of thing anymore. Yeah,
so difficult.
In the name of anti-touting policies, but everyone seems to get around it anyway. There you go. Fun and games. I mean, I think we'll have an awful lot more to talk about when it comes to fans getting shafted if and when the new stadium happens, because it's quite clear that they're looking to monetize that as much as possible for understandable reasons and for different reasons than the Glazers might have wanted. But
I was listening to the Monday Night Club yesterday. This might come out on Thursday. So on Monday, on 5 Live, and they had a West Ham fan on who was saying about his season tickets, and he has one season ticket which is near the tunnel, and he says that most of the fans there are just not West Ham fans, they're still tourists, and the other, for some reason he's got 2 sets of season tickets, and he said in the other place the club actually sell it to a tourist company, and then they just sell tourist packages, and that's West Ham. It probably goes on at every other club in the Premier League as well.
United has certainly been accused of doing that because they deny it, but fans hand it back through the ticket resale scheme, and suddenly it becomes part of a hospitality package, and a 30 quid ticket becomes an 80 quid ticket with a burger and a pint included, or something like that, Victoria Keys. So it's sadly there's a lot more of this, and I'm all the Premier League clubs. I mean, we've got category pricing now at Old Trafford this season. Everyone would love to move to dynamic pricing, at least the elite teams, because they know they can do. They know they're leaving money on the table, right? They definitely are. United are leaving money on the table. They could charge a lot more given the demand. It would shaft local fans. So what do? You could have a socio system like you do at Barcelona, where if you're a local, you'll pay €30, and if you're a tourist, you'll pay €150 for the same seat. I suppose they could try and do that. But yeah. All right. I tell you what, one place where fans seem to be enjoying themselves at the moment is Leigh Sports Village, which everyone complains about. No trains, no buses, quite hard to drive over there and stuff like that, a few miles outside of town. But a record attendance for United 0, Arsenal 0 at the weekend, Leigh Sports Village. Arsenal brought 1,000 fans with them as well, which definitely added to the atmosphere. High quality game. They've started the season really well for all the bitching and moaning you get amongst United women fans online. It's like, and there's a lot of it. I'd say a lot of it, and it might not be representative of the actual crowd. United started this season really well. They had a good qualification, complicated qualification tournament for the Women's Champions League, and they're undefeated in WSL. It's been a good start to the season.
Yeah, and I know Erlen was on the bench on Sunday, I'm guessing, potentially just nursing some knock after the Champions League game in midweek. But that front three have just been like so good, especially in the first 2 games. And in the early Champions League qualifiers as well. It's so exciting. It's so exciting watching United women right now. Yeah, like you say, high quality game on Sunday, a 0-0, and that being. I guess the blip also away in Bran, but we were much the better team in that game as well. It was kind of a bit of it's one of those Champions League qualifiers that the men used to have quite a lot, where we would lose like away in Hungary or something, and then you'd always back us to win the home leg. That's how I felt after that Bran first leg, and it's exactly what we did. When that front three click in particular, they are so silky, they're so smooth, they're so good to watch. And I know, we were playing against teams like Leicester, who are a lot like the disparity in the WSL compared to like the Premier League, for example, is quite big, and the top teams are so much better than the teams below. But like there have been times over the past 3 or 4 years where United did struggle a little bit against the lower teams. They didn't beat them as comprehensively as this. They didn't play this type of silky football. And like you say, I feel like we go into every season thinking, we've sold like our best players. We sold Russo, we've sold Mary Ebbs, or whatever it is. And then obviously this season, the same thing happened. But there's a weird involvement that we seem to look. We always look better every year as well. Obviously, we had that one year which was a blip,
Yeah.
but this year we've started so well, and the confidence like is teaming through the whole club, the whole players, but also like the fans as well. Like you see, it was so awesome to see how buzzing Leeds Sports Village was on Sunday, and obviously that's coming off the back of the Euros, England winning the women's Euros again, and that further elevation of women's sport that we've also seen in the Women's Rugby World Cup this summer, which has had crazy attendances, especially compared to the previous editions of this competition. And United have, like, it's almost like never been a better time for United to start this well when there's such a enthusiasm for the women's game. It's been so beautiful. And I also I think I mentioned like how good Jess Park has been since I think joining.
Very good.
So good on the ball. And you look into that transfer, which got a lot of, obviously, like, you can understand why there was a lot of criticism for that transfer, but also it's not looked as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Feels like it's working out. I mean, there was no doubt that Jess Park's a high-quality player, and United seemed to have pushed hard to get that done while City were turning Grace Clinton's head somewhat. Maybe United have learned from previous things where they didn't get a transfer fee. There was money involved in this one. She had years left on a contract. I mean, it's never a good look when a talented young player leaves before fulfilling their talent at the club, and obviously United kind of carefully managed her with loans at Bristol and Spurs, and I think the idea was that she would become good. I mean, what I heard when I spoke to United women fans are that Jess Park's a better fit for the system than Grace Clinton. It was slightly awkward with Toon and Clinton in the side, and I think that's probably shown. It's just you'd probably rather have them both, right? And there is more depth in the United women's squad, just not up front. And I think that's the concern. If Turlan gets injured, can Mallard fill in there? Maybe, and that's the concern. There's no, like, United are working on about half the budget at Chelsea. About a similar-ish level to Arsenal and City. Chelsea just miles and miles ahead because they've obviously had years and years of Women's Champions League participation and a lot of investment from the club in there. They organise the finances of Chelsea women very differently and so on. So there's some catch up. I think some of the frustration would be that it wouldn't take much. We've talked about it before, right? You could up United's budget by 20% and by sticking a couple of £1 million in. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing. And they could do that by organising the sponsorships in a slightly different way and going, this is the cut the United women get from the Qualcomm sponsorship, etc. It make no difference to the men's side if anyone wants to come at it from that point of view. But so far, that's not happened. They're still working on a kind of skeleton budget. Apart from Jess Park, which there was a fee paid, all freebies this summer. And it's kind of been the pattern, actually, where they're looking to pick up players who tend to have shorter-term contracts in the women's football anyway, and been trying to pick them up for free and pick up cast-offs from more successful, I don't know what the right word is, successful teams around Europe. But it seems to be working. Like,
you do wonder the trajectory of the women's team at United as well. I mean, obviously, Ratcliffe's come out numerous times and says just idiotic things and ignorant things about the women's game. But you wonder if they kind of thinks, United, we've done the structural stuff that's needed to happen around the men's team now, whether they will start to invest a little bit more and put a little bit more effort into the women's team. I'm not holding my breath, but I guess there's a part of the optimistic part of me is just thinking, I wonder if in time the trajectory of the women's team will look a little bit different, especially if, obviously, like from a capitalist financial perspective, if the women's game and women's sport in general continues to skyrocket in the same way it is, it might just become a more of a important thing on the record, on the financial sheets.
Absolutely. It raises the value of the club. And I've seen a few United women fans postulate that Sir Jim should sell the club to himself or to another investor. In fact, and we do have Michelle Kang coming into the WSL now, buying London City Lionesses. She's a big investor. Would there be another investor of that nature from somewhere around the world who want to buy into United? I'm sure, right? But it's Manchester United, and Manchester United should be a whole.
Yeah.
Right? They're all important. Men's first team, women's first team, academy, under 12s, blind football team, everything. It's Manchester United. It's important. And I would not want to diminish the club by going, well, that piece is less important, so we sell it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was enough of a crime that we didn't have a women's team for so long. We were behind everyone else. That has been rectified way, way, way too late, and now it's time to invest and make that successful, because it's not that much money to do it. So anyway, really exciting European draw, tough European draw. It's Swiss format, but fewer games, 6 games rather than 8, as you get in the Men's Champions League. Playing Vålerenga, Paris Saint-Germain, Atletico Madrid, Wolfsburg, Lyon, and Juventus. I mean, that is as tough as it gets. Wolfsburg has been in Champions League finals recently. Atletico obviously one of the top women's team in Spain. PSG, Lyon have won the Women's Champions League like 6 times in a row, not that long ago, right? Yeah. PSG game will be at Old Trafford. I hope there's a really big crowd for that, because it's like occasionally when they've played games at Old Trafford, it's not been a particularly good crowd, and you get a better atmosphere with 8, 9, 10,000 at Leigh Sports Village than you do with 30,000 and 60,000 empty seats or whatever. It's
Mary Epp's coming back as well.
I'm sure she'll get a good reception. Is there a song for her?
Yeah, like I say, it's very difficult. I think like Lyon are not the team they were before, and Juve in the women's game aren't great. But yeah, I still see us getting through that group. But
top 8, it has to be top 8.
I still see us getting through. I just think, I just wonder, I guess, and I guess the pessimistic side of me wonders how we will be able to cope with what European football is all about. I mean, in the first 2 qualifiers, we looked great. We navigated with ease, and then we went away to Brann, and we still played well, but obviously we lost. And that's the difference when you play against like seasoned European
sides,
top European sides, seasoned European sides. It's just a different game. And despite us probably on paper having probably the second best team, I'd say, out of all of those teams that we're going to play against, it's just different when you play against different styles and in different atmospheres in different countries, not used to the travel and that kind of thing. It would just be very interesting to see how we navigate, and maybe this first year is a bit of a learning experience, and then hopefully next year we're going to be in the Champions League again, and we can go at it with a bit.
I mean, hopefully it's challenging.
It's just so difficult to get into the Champions League where you have three spaces and there's 4 very, very good teams in the league. But we'll see how it goes. But it's very. I struggle to not get too optimistic about what this team can do right now, to be honest.
It's going to be entertaining, whatever, and from a selfish point of view, good times for watching the games, and you can actually watch them as well.
It's also really nice when you don't have the men's team in the Europe, and then you actually have the women's team. Exactly.
Beautiful. It's filling in the gap. I mean, my Substack this week was all about the gaps in how it feels when there's no football and all you've got is online discourse.
Yeah, I know.
So, but this will fill in the gap. Thank you very much. Very nice. All right, let's move on to Brentford away this weekend. Brentford 10th last season. Obviously, they lost Frank, appointed Keith Andrews, who was his assistant, used to be the set-piece coach. Lost their 2 best players in Wissa and Mbumo. I'm sure they'd like to kept either or both of those. Obviously, had lost Ivan Toney the year before as well. Made this last-minute trolley dash for Django Ouattara from Bournemouth. I don't know. I feel like I paid quite a lot of money for him. For the quality, I was like, 42.5 million. It feels like a lot. If we got not enough for Alejandro Garnacho, they probably paid a bit much for him. Yeah. Desperation times, I guess. But What do you make of Brentford so far this season? I mean, the style hasn't changed, I don't think, from what I've seen.
No, like you say, when you lose your two best players, they also, his name escapes me. They lost that guy to Arsenal as well, the centre midfielder. I think he's actually been playing for Arsenal, has he? Yeah, when you lose that, it's bad enough. But also losing Thomas Frank, which is way, way more than that. And I think what we're potentially starting to see with Brentford and all the talk about them being, really well run club, they're very data driven, they're this, they're that. Potentially, what we've maybe seen actually is that actually they just had a really good manager who has got them into the Premier League from, Dean Smith was doing a pretty good job before Thomas Frank, but Thomas Frank has dragged them to a new level to get them into the Premier League and stabilise them. And then you kind of see the start he's made at Tottenham, not spectacular, but like pretty good. And I would have loved him at United, being honest. And then you see the start of the season, you see the way Keith Andrews talks. I saw a few clips from his pre-season where he looked very Brentish. He had a word of the day that he was going on about during pre-season, very cringy. And you start to wonder, and especially like the moves they've made, they tried to sign Hutchinson in the summer and didn't. I think they were a day out from missing his release clause. There was just a lot of like weird things happening at the same time. I think the appointment of Keith Andrews in itself, like aside from the Brentism, is an odd one. He's not had any Premier League experience. He does talk well. Like when he was a pundit, I always thought, he's a really good pundit. But there's a difference between being a good pundit or a good set piece coach and managing a Premier League team. And I always thought at the start of the season, this is going to be interesting to see how this works out. And I think what we've seen has been pretty dire, and they looked poor against Fulham. Nathan Collins, I know you said earlier, Pinnock and Nathan Collins will be heading things away. Nathan Collins has been terrible this season. He was terrible for Ireland in their international break. Ethan Pinnock scored an own goal with a great header. I wouldn't be surprised if they went down. Like genuinely, they're going to be down there for absolutely sure. The teams that have been promoted are looking a bit better, and they look. They've never had the best players in the world. They've had a few good players, and those players have gone quite quickly. But those players like Pinnock, those players like Collins, those midfielders have been performing so much more above their ability for a long time under a great manager. And I just wonder, they're going to be in a bit of trouble. And I think they're going to be a little bit down. They're going to be a little bit more despondent. I think we're playing them at a really good time where they potentially still, even if they do come good under Keith Andrews, they're still in that transition period to the new manager. And they could have easily got beaten 4 or 5 against Fulham, to be honest, at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. They are in a difficult position, not of their own making, really, but you wonder whether they're planning. I mean, if it'd been Brighton, right? It's obvious comparisons. I know it's kind of lazy Route 1 comparison, but you've got the two owners who have similar backgrounds in betting and gambling, who've done well, bought their boyhood clubs and deployed that model. I mean, Matthew Benham had done that in Denmark as well previously. And he's trying to, he's successfully played this model to get Brentford in and stabilise them. It's just a bit of a perfect storm, losing your manager and a bunch of good players all at once, and then it dragging on. And I don't know that they're hardballing United from Boomo and Newcastle for Witter, and they got 2 great fees for those players. 120 million between them. Great fees for players they'd paid hardly anything for. I don't know whether that helped them because they couldn't plan until very, very, very late in the window.
And like you say, he spent 40-odd million on Utara as well.
And I don't know. He's had 60-odd games in the Premier League. He's a good player, but he's not as good as Semenyo.
No,
I know that.
No, right.
So bought the wrong player from Bournemouth there. I mean, since Bournemouth are selling absolutely everybody this summer.
It's not effective.
So it could be a really hard season. It wouldn't be a surprise that they get to January, February, and they're in the bottom three and they fire Keith Andrews and try and bring a couple of players in to try and save themselves. So good time to play them. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I think the stylistic thing with Brentford's interesting because I don't think they've changed stylistically that much. They're still good at set pieces. They're still chucking the long ball. They're still good at heading everything away, box defending, and for all spectacular own goals. Or Nathan Collins, who I do think is a talented player,
he is. Yeah,
not playing as well as he could have done. Like, are United able to impose themselves on this game, get 55-60% possession, have a dominant performance, which we've basically never seen under Amorim? Mm-hmm. Like a couple of European games, just not in the Premier League. Can we do that? Is that the next step? You want to take the positives we saw in Chelsea, the intensity, the pressing, the chance creation, and prove all the people, I guess including me, since I dumped a bunch of this data into my newsletter, who are going, not sure I really buy the positive data story yet, right? And prove that all wrong and go, actually we've got some momentum here. And get Ruben Amorim to his first back-to-back Premier League wins. He's done it in Europe, but yeah.
And I just wonder about our shape when we attack our rest defence. I think this is the thing that potentially might undo us in this game, is that the fact that we've seen it in the City and the Chelsea game, obviously the third Haaland goal, where our team are just, our players...
really extreme, wasn't it?
It was, but there was also a moment against Chelsea where I think it was in the second half when we were 2-0 up, there was a time where we just committed way too many players forward and there was massive gaps in behind us. I think that's the way that Brentford win this game, is that if we start to build a little bit of pressure and then we overcook a little bit and then there's massive gaps in behind, that is where someone like Utaro can be really dangerous, right? Running into space behind, and it's going to be really interesting to see, like you say, are those patterns of play going to be evident? The ones that we've seen in spurts and bits and spurts so far. I'd love Cunha to be able to start in this game. He looked quite leggy, I thought, when he came on at the weekend, understandably, obviously just back from injury, but I think he gives us so much more ability, so much more creativity, so much more flair, especially in those positions around the edge of the box. I feel like at times you actually look at him and you think he's actually a little bit more of a flary Bruno. Like, he has that ability to jink. He's more agile around the areas. He's able to play those 1-2s a little bit quicker. And you think if a team are going to be a little bit low block, if a team are going to invite us onto them, having someone like that is going to be so important.
Ball carrier.
Yeah. And to be able to jink and be able to potentially play those nice like 1-2s and get around the corner. Like I'm hoping that we see, I'd love to be able to see Mbumo, Cunha and Šeško and hopefully just kind of bed that in a little bit. And I'm sure we're not going to be able to see it work perfectly. I'm sure there are going to be times where we get potentially a 3-on-2 and a 4-on-3 and we make the wrong decision. We make that pass which is a little bit too long, but I expect that. I'm just hoping that we see potentially 30-40% of that time we make that right decision, we make that right pass. And I think if we could succeed at maybe 20-30% of the time, I think we'll win this game quite comfortably, because I think we'll get those opportunities. It's just about being able to execute, which has been the thing under Amorim since he came in. We have had times where we've got into positions quite a lot. We've had openings, and that doesn't always show up on the data. It doesn't show up in the XG because we didn't get a shot away at the end. Like, there was a time where Bruno
they wouldn't do.
Bruno went in against Chelsea where Bruno should have gone left to Ahmad and he was completely free, and he tried to play a little 3-ball to Šeško. That sort of stuff doesn't come up in the stats, but that's a huge chance, which should have been a huge XG moment. And it's just those little small things which, hopefully, if we start to click that into more of a play, if we can go here, win 2 or 3-0, and then the optimism starts to like you say, we get back-to-back wins for the first time, and we build the optimism, we build a bit of momentum going into Liverpool, which I think is October.
Sunderland next,
and then Liverpool
and
after
then,
that, is
and
it?
then Liverpool, yeah. I absolutely, I totally agree with all of that. Really do need that momentum, and of course we feel like it shouldn't be judging Amorim on game to game, but it feels like that, doesn't it? Because it's just been such a poor first 50 games or so. Like the 35% win rate, that's just not good enough for any scenario ever at Manchester United. And if it had been at Real Madrid, he'd have been fired already. We have a different system at United where we give them a bit of a chance, and so we just want to build that momentum. What I'd like to see is United create high quality XG, high quality chances, right? And we're really not doing that. Like some of that 10.1 XG this season is juiced by Mbeumo and Casemiro missing from a yard out when we were already 3-0 down against City.
I guess I imagine as well.
Yeah, penalties is included in that. Non-penalty XG is pretty good as well, though. So, but just better chances. Right, team news. Casemiro is obviously banned. Got 1 game ban for his. I'd say. I don't know. I'd say the first one was an amber. That was a bit wild. And the second one was a little bit unlucky because he actually got the ball from the side. And I guess it's the tug back that got in the yellow card. But anyway, he's got a 1-match ban. Stupid. Very stupid. Didn't need to dive in. But we know he loves a tackle. He's just not quick enough anymore to time them quite as well as he once did. Dalot is fit. I'm not sure if that's good news or bad news.
Mazraoui's been great. I absolutely love Mazraoui.
I love him. I just don't love his physicality. I'm not sure he's able to get up and down the pitch for the full 90 quite the way we'd want to. Yeah. I love him as a footballer. Yeah. He's better in those midfield situations, like in between the lines, than Amad, for sure, who's a bit reckless, bit head down, not really thinking about what's going on. Amad, I love around the box as an attacker. And so I love Amad's attacking output at wing back. Don't love his kind of midfield play. I definitely don't love his defending. He's got a lot to do there. Mazraoui, very competent defender, very good with the ball. Just the attacking piece with Dorgu, who's like physical but no productivity on the other side. It feels like so much of our play is like directed around 2 unproductive players if they're Mazraoui and Dorgu are in the sides, Like those are the extra man in wide areas all the time, and they're defenders, And in fact, against Chelsea, where we had 10 men, the extra men were Mazraoui, Dorgu, Maguire and De Ligt, depending on who's pushing up. That's not really who you want to be attacking with. That's why you get low XG. Yeah, so anyway. And then the final piece of this one, third kit is debuting. It feels like it should have been debuted many times over, but the black kit with yellow stripes, which I should have worn today for today's video, but which is very nice. Yeah. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really lovely.
It will look good. Mm-hmm. So what we need is a few goals and then maybe our captain flying into the crowd to kick someone.
Oh, it'd been lovely if Šeško scored today. I was hoping that was going to happen on Saturday. I'm sure that everyone was thinking that, like thinking 2-0 up, grab an extra one before half time, so we're just going to settle in for the second half and just get Šeško a couple of goals. That would have been. I felt like that was what was going to happen, and it all changed. But yeah, it'd just be nice to have the pressure off him a little bit, because I've seen some reaction to him even at the start of match of the day on Saturday night. Guy Mowbray was saying, "Oh yeah, the pressure's already even on," or something along those lines. He's like, "Come on, mate." He's like, "It's the second Premier League start."
He hadn't had a pre-season. I know he's had the one start. It was disrupted by the red card. Like, okay, let's everyone calm down. It'll take a little bit of time. I mean, there's some of the inevitable comparisons with Gyökeres, because there's so much debate about whether he can rejoin. Gyökeres is 27 years old.
Maybe even older,
he's much more experienced. He's the finished product right now. There's no learning curve. And honestly, his performances have been shit. I know he's got a few goals, but he's not been playing well. It doesn't look like he fits in that side.
I'd argue Šeško would have scored at least as many goals as Gyökeres so far, and maybe even more. Like, he's just playing in a different team.
There you go. Come on, United. Like, I for one, I mean, I have my doubts about Ruben, and I think they're just rational doubts, right? You look at the tactics, you look at the data, You look at his sort of stubbornness in some scenarios, and I think that gives you a lot of cause for doubt.
Absolutely.
As I've said before, it's funny how you say this and you get called out for it. If I was like, Ruben out now, people would be calling me reactionary, and I'm Ruben in quite strongly, I'd say, but there's not a lot of evidence for that. I just kind of feel like there's something there. I just wish someone would click in his mind there and go, okay, I can change this up a little bit to get our best players in the team as often as possible in the right kind of areas, and that's not happened so far. We'll see if that happens against Brentford. Have my doubts, but, whatever. We need the win. We need a performance now. We got a win last time, so this time it's a win and a performance, please. Thank you very much. That would be very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, everyone, thank you very much. You can catch Tom on Blue Sky, not on Twitter, because that's a cesspit of scumbags.
Perfectly put.
And that's just myself I'm talking about there. No. You can catch me on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram and TikTok, and find my Substack as well, where I write a couple of times a week. Somehow I managed to find time to do all this nonsense. But thank you very much, everyone, for listening or watching, wherever you are, and we'll catch you next time.